This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 594, which is, that's wild. That's a lot of episodes, man. We're getting close to 600. Before you know it, we'll be at 1,000. It's pretty insane. I want to be clear, if you're watching on YouTube, my hair is wet from the shower, although it is really hot. It's really hot. It's 85 this week, but there's no breeze. There's no little respite from... 85 is pretty good. I like the heat. The humidity is pretty hot here. And not having a breeze like normal does make it quite toasty. I'm about to be in this room for 2 hours in a row, back-to-back recording content. So by the end of it, the wet will not be water from the shower. It will probably be sweat. Welcome in. I'm really excited for today's show. I can feel rage bubbling inside me. I had a horrible week of fantasy football. My team is 1-3. I lost again, and I lost entirely because it's my fault. I mean, like, you could argue I had some bad luck, and certainly we will argue that. But things could have been done differently, and I lost, and I absolutely hate losing. It drives me nuts more than anything you could possibly imagine. I lost 120 to 138.60 points, so 138.6 to 120 I lost. I lost to Jake. Jake, I think, is going to make an appearance later on the show. I'm going to have him kind of come on, and we'll talk a little bit about the week at the end. His team is called How'd That Get Up There? I want to give Jake a shout-out. I have made fun of Jake for like 4 episodes in a row about fantasy football because his team name is How'd That Get Up There? I'm like, what does that mean? Well, I got the explanation finally. And it really just took me taking a closer look at his team's logo, which is an X-ray of pliers up someone's rear end. So yeah, how'd that get up there? I have no idea. I don't want to know. I'm all for having fun back there, right? The back seat, a lot of good stuff can happen on that end of people's bodies. But pliers is not the thing I would want to put up in that area. So it's hilarious. I love your team name, Jake. Well done. He also got the dub. He beat me by 18 points. I gave him a lot of crap about the name before I understood the team name. Now that I know, I love you, man. I think that's awesome. Again, I think Jake is going to come on the show later, which is why I don't have time to let the hair dry. We got to get going. Jake's coming on 5:30 Mountain Time, so I'm excited to talk to Jake. I've never talked to him other than on DMs and stuff. So I just got to say, I think we're building a really cool community with Strong Opinion Sports. And as I look around and think about my time doing Strong Opinion Sports, right? Logan's a guy in the Fantasy Football League who he shot me a DM once when I was in Hilo, Hawaii. He's like, "You want to get breakfast?" And him, my dad, his girlfriend, and I all got breakfast. It was really fun. I've met a lot of people on the road during my road trip. That was amazing. On Saturday, I'm going to a high school football game, Campbell against Kahuku, and I'm going to go with Joel, who may or may not kill me. I've never met Joel. He's only sent me emails, and we've talked over text message. I'm going to send him my address later today. Maybe he'll kill me, but maybe Joel will be awesome. I'm going to make a new friend on the island, and it'll be just another feather in the cap of mine of great interactions I've had with people from the show. I love building a cool community, man. It makes me really, really happy. Now, we got to talk about what happened. I made a monumental mistake this week. I was up very late Saturday night. I made an episode about college football week 5. By the way, I feel like nobody watched it. Nobody cared. Do I need to do college football content? I'm not even sure people want that from me. I put a lot of effort into this episode Saturday. Got an episode done Saturday night. It's going to be 6 episodes this week. Nobody cared. I'm like, maybe I just should not put any effort into that. But either way, I was up late Saturday night recording that episode. And NFL football for me, I'm in Hawaii. So football starts at 7 a.m. sharp. There is no time. If I don't get up at like 6:30, 6 a.m., make some coffee, get my notes ready, I don't have any time before football starts. Football for me, usually as I'm waking up, football is getting going 7 a.m. Sunday morning. So I was up late Saturday night. Slept in a little bit, woke up at 7:05, and mind you, my quarterback is Deshaun Watson on my fantasy football team. Deshaun Watson had like a minor injury, a little bit of discomfort. He got cleared medically to play, and he was listed as questionable. And I thought, well, you know what? Here's the thing. The Browns, week 4, were going into a really big rivalry game against division rival, the Baltimore Ravens. no way your franchise quarterback isn't going to play in a really important, really big game, especially if he's medically cleared to play. He's going to play. We saw Baker Mayfield, who basically ruined his career, so maybe this is why Deshaun Watson didn't pull the trigger and play. But we saw Baker Mayfield play an entire season in Cleveland with his right arm barely attached, playing, doing the best he could. Deshaun Watson cleared medically to play, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to play in a really big rivalry game. Cleveland lost 28-3, and my starting quarterback did not play at all this week, and I had no points at the quarterback position. I woke up too late. I woke up as the game was getting started, too late to make an adjustment. I was getting messages from people on the mainland that are in the league like, Zach, are you crazy? What can you do? And I woke up right as the game was starting. Wake up, turn on the TV to watch Browns, Ravens. Guess what? Deshaun Watson, healthy scratch. Ah! Dang it made me so mad. I don't get it at all. I don't understand why you wouldn't play. I didn't get a score from my quarterback at all. Now, he's a real human being. Remember, football and fantasy football are separate things and whatever. But for me and my fantasy team, horrible way for things to play out. So Jake's quarterback was Anthony Richardson, the second highest quarterback in all of fantasy football. My quarterback, Deshaun Watson, did not play, got 0 points. So Anthony Richardson, 29.6 points for Jake. He had 3 total touchdowns. He threw 2. He ran for 1. 200 yards passing, 56 yards rushing. I've been watching that film today. Wow. Anthony Richardson is incredible. He did have a fumble, but I got obliterated when it came to the quarterback matchup because I didn't have a quarterback. His quarterback was incredible. This week, I want to tell you a story, by the way. It's going to be a fun, chaotic episode. I can already feel it. And the rage monster inside me that hates losing is bubbling, and he's furious at what happened this week. This week, I almost traded for Josh Allen. In fact, the trade went all the way through. I accepted the trade. Josh Allen ended up being the highest scoring quarterback in all of fantasy football this week. I didn't make the trade for Deshaun Watson or for Josh Allen. The trade would have been Phoenix offered me a trade, Josh Allen in return for Nico Collins, the incredible receiver in Houston, and Deshaun Watson. Apparently, I accepted the trade. I believe, I remember Saturday night was a late night for me. I got done with the episode. I was like, man, my roommate's smoking some, I don't want to say that. My roommate was smoking some meat. Involved in the smoking of the meats was also some jazz cabbage, as someone referred to on the show the other day. So I may or may not have partaken in a little bit of jazz cabbage on Saturday night. Woke up. Apparently, I accepted a trade for Josh Allen. Deshaun Watson, Nico Collins for Josh Allen. I cannot afford to lose Nico Collins. He's basically the only good thing going for my football team. Like, the only person who's reliably been able to score a lot of points and get a lot of yards and touchdowns has been Nico Collins. I'm like, I cannot lose this receiver in Houston who turns out to be, I like that draft pick, turns out to be the best draft pick I made all year. Like, later in the draft, amazing pick. I should look up, like, exactly when I drafted him, and we'll probably do, like, a recap episode at the end of the year. Right now, I'm at an all-time low. There's no way I'm going to lose my fantasy football. I'm going to win my fantasy football league. I've accepted that. I kind of accepted that right after the draft when I realized, we have 2 running backs starting every week. I am screwed. But so the trade went through because I guess I accepted it. Phoenix can let me know. By the way, Phoenix was pretty cool about it. I was like, I did what now? I woke up. I used my commissioner's veto, which may or may not be bad sportsmanship. I'm not sure, but I'm the commissioner. I get to do what I want. And Phoenix actually was like, I thought I pulled the finesse of the century, so I just thought I had a great trade, a one-sided trade. And anyway, the trade did not go through, so I didn't get Josh Allen. My quarterback did not play this week. Although, again, I still think even having Josh Allen play, Josh Allen got 36.5 points, but I wouldn't have won if I'd gotten rid of Nico Collins. So it really didn't matter either way. Man, I could have used Josh Allen this week, though, if I could have found a way to trade for him. A trade did happen for Josh Allen. We'll talk about that later. I mean, I really almost won this week, right? I lost by 18 without my quarterback getting any points. Can you imagine if I just had any quarterback? Like, I would have won. I mean, it's so simple. Like, man, I really butchered this one. And on top of not having Deshaun Watson play, kind of a surprise, I really believed he was going to play. Like, I think I crumpled it up. I feel like, again, you're paying Deshaun Watson so much money. It's a big rivalry game. He's medically cleared to play. For him to not play, are you kidding me? I am furious. And I lost by 18 points in a week where I got 0 points from my quarterback and 0 points from my kicker. So Jake's kicker, Josh Myers, got 5 points. That's great. My kicker, Matt Gay, who last week in week 3, Matt Gay got 24 points, so I dropped my kicker because, let me tell you the whole story. My kicker, Brandon McManus, last week during week 3, got me only 3 points. At one point, he had negative points. I'm like, screw this guy. He sucks. I'm out of here. Matt Gay had an incredible week. 4 field goals over 50 yards. Matt Gay had 24 points during week 3, so I swapped him. I said, I'm going to drop Brandon McManus. I'm going to bring in Matt Gay. This week, Matt Gay got me 0 points. He missed a field goal, had a bad day. And my old kicker, Brandon McManus, had 14 points, second highest scoring kicker in the NFL. And really, this is maybe where the rage monster is coming out. It's an example of how much fantasy football relies on, it's a guessing game and getting lucky at times. It's like, you can do the best you can. Although I will say, I think reacting to someone having a good week makes sense. Like, just because someone had a good week last week doesn't mean they're going to do good this week. In fact, usually, like I talked about when the Dolphins scored 70 points on Denver, I said, expect them to have kind of a down week the next week, and they lost 48 to 24, something like that. They lost by like 30 points after scoring 70 the week before. So usually when someone has an incredible week, it's not uncommon for them to fall back down to earth the next week. But fantasy football requires luck, and there is some skill involved. I think a lot of the skill is in drafting, and even then, like I think of people who drafted Nick Chubb and got totally screwed. I think of people like, this is me coping, by the way, right? This is me frustrated with how my team is performing, going, well, like, that guy got screwed over. This guy who drafted Aaron Rodgers got screwed over. Austin Eckler's been rough for X, gonna give it to you. Like, I don't know. It requires a lot of luck to do fantasy football, and I don't like it. And I really, really can't tell if you can tell. I hate losing. It bothers me to no end. So anyway, the kicking matchup, I lost 5-0. My kicker got me 0 points. If I could have had a quarterback who scored any points and a kicker who scored any points, I probably would have won this week. But instead, we lost, and I hate it. I'm cutting in right here. I realize I keep doing this with the fantasy football episodes. I record, it's all in one take. It's so fun, it's flowing, it's great. I realize we did not leave an opportunity for an ad break. So we got to pay the bills. I got to take a break. Remember, though, we're not paying the bills anymore. Why would we pay Buffalo? Who really needs the money right now? Who can we pay this week? We got to pay my bills, my rent. But the play on words here, instead of paying the bills, who really needs it? I feel like I kind of sticking with the Giants. I paid them yesterday, but the Giants are just having a horrible year. Let's take a short break. I got to pay the Giants. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks allows you to make an entry based on player projections, and in 60 seconds, you could enter something like Travis Kelce more than 5 catches, Tyreek Hill more than 100 yards receiving, and Justin Fields less than 200 yards passing. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. The rest of the matchups, let's talk about it. Running back, my running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, got me 9.1 points. He had 8 carries for 40 yards, 4 catches for 11 yards. The Lions continue to barely use their first-round draft pick at running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't fully understand it. I mean, David, here's the thing. The Lions are winning, so a lot of people are like making fun of the Lions, and kind of the common thing is, it's like having a sports car in your garage under a tarp all summer when, like, take the top off, let it go, have fun in the summer, drive around, enjoy your sports car. Why do you own it if you're not using it? Why'd you draft Jahmyr Gibbs if you're not going to use him? But you can critique the Lions all you want. They're winning. They're 3-1. David Montgomery's having an incredible year. I as far as football goes, I understand what's going on in Detroit, why they're not using Jahmyr Gibbs a ton. But as a guy who drafted him first, expecting him to have a huge rookie season, not happy. Not happy at all. I mean, look, Bijan Robinson getting used, they're going to grind him into the ground. They're going to use him so much. Like, how much can we get out of this guy, Bijan Robinson in Atlanta? So one first-round running back is getting used and abused as much as possible. Jahmyr Gibbs, it's like the Lions barely even appreciate having him. I'm like, okay, I'm so glad I drafted Jahmyr Gibbs with high expectations, and I'm getting obliterated there. So Jahmyr Gibbs got another, 9 points isn't like the end of the world. That's not like he got 0. Didn't have any fumbles, but he's just not getting used very much. And you're like, oh, well, that sucks. Now, I did do okay in this running back matchup because his running back, Rachaad White for Tampa, had 10.8 points. So he beat me here, but not by much. Rachaad White had 15 carries for 56 yards and 3 catches for 22 yards. So again, it was close. It wasn't like some crazy blowout at the running back number 1 spot. My running back number 2, Isaiah Pacheco, had a great week. He had 24.8 points on 20 carries for 115 yards, a touchdown run, 3 catches for 43 more yards. Isaiah Pacheco was awesome on Sunday Night Football. I watched him live against the Jets. He was fantastic. Jake's number 2 running back, Alvin Kamara, also had a good day. I mean, Alvin Kamara, I want you to understand this. He had 11 carries for 51 yards, 13 catches. How do you even do that at running back? 13 catches, but for only 33 yards. So the average of yards per catch is like really low, but that's an insane number of catches. Alvin Kamara, 21.4 points. We came out basically even when it came to the running back matchup this week. At wide receiver for me, Calvin Ridley got me 11.8 points in their London game against Atlanta. He had 2 catches for 38 points and a touchdown. Remember, that's the number 1 receiver in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offense, bad luck for me. It's kind of like people who drafted Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. The Bengals are having kind of a down year on offense. So is Jacksonville so far. I still have hope that eventually, I mean, Calvin Ridley had a good game already once this year. I have hope that as the Jaguar season gets going and their offense starts improving and playing better, that I'm going to start seeing, how do I even say this, like reward for my patience. I really believe that eventually this is going to be good. Right now, though, it's not, and it's frustrating. Jake's number 1 receiver, CeeDee Lamb, had 14.8 points, 1 carry for 12 yards, kind of out of pocket there, 4 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. So again, fairly similar, 11 points to 14 roughly. Like, I can live with that. I didn't lose too badly there. And then Nico Collins, my number 1 receiver, and I'm noticing on my notes, I don't have the amount of points that his receiver scored, so I got to look this up. But Nico Collins, my number 1 receiver, had 35.8 points. And this is why I couldn't trade Nico Collins away. He's just regularly, he's like the highest scoring average person on my team. Like, him and the Cowboys defense basically are like just generating points like crazy for me. So I could not afford to lose Nico Collins. His number 2 receiver, Jake's, was DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf scored, I don't know. Let me look it up. I want to make sure I have this right because we got to look at with the week 4 matchup for me. DK Metcalf had 12.4 points, like a third of what my number 2 receiver scored. DK Metcalf, 3 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. It was one of those games. I was watching that game on Monday Night Football. DK Metcalf had a huge impact on that game. Really good catches, using his body, going to get the football, had a touchdown that I loved. I was surprised when I looked at the final stats. I'm like, he only had 3 catches? That's kind of crazy. I thought for sure DK Metcalf had a much, much better game. But again, I won the receiver matchup as well there. George Kittle, my tight end situation. So let's talk about the tight end matchup. George Kittle is a garbage tight end in fantasy football, I've learned. I drafted him because, to me, George Kittle is, him and Travis Kelce, they're the 2 best tight ends in football. And I would actually, if I was a coach, I would rather, I don't want to say this, I don't know if it's true. I would have a hard time deciding between Travis Kelce and George Kittle, simply because George Kittle is such a good blocker, and for your running game, like, he's so versatile, and I think all around, George Kittle is the best tight end in football. Travis Kelce is the best receiving tight end in football. That's not even debatable. And they're number 1 and 2, no matter how you, and I totally understand people who say Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. They're probably right. Again, the debate could go back and forth. I don't know where we would end up. But I think George Kittle is an incredible tight end. But here's a reminder. Fantasy football is not real football. Just because you're good in real life doesn't mean you'll be good in fantasy football. George Kittle got me 1.9 points this week. 1 point. Just under 2, 1.9. 1 catch for 9 yards. Dang it. Dang it, man. And I got to bench him, I think. We'll talk about that later in the show. I think I'm going to have to. I tried to trade away George Kittle. I said, hey, one of the trades I proposed for Josh Allen was, you want Deshaun Watson and George Kittle for Josh Allen? I'll take that trade. And Phoenix said no. He tried to steal Nico Collins from me. He refused to, do a trade where both sides could win, basically. If that's winning, he needs something. He's got a horrible team. Jake had the highest scoring tight end of the week. So I had some bad luck. Right as I play Chicago's tight end, I want you to notice, suddenly out of nowhere, Chicago can score a lot of points. Why couldn't Chicago have sucked for one more week, huh? Like, really? Cole Kmet goes off. Cole Kmet, the Bears tight end, 27.6 points, 7 catches for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also, a carry for 1 yard for a tight end. LOL, that's kind of... Did I say LOL out loud? I did. That happened. I can't turn it off. That just happened. But bad luck for me. Again, of course, when I play the Bears tight end, he goes off, and suddenly the Bears can score a bunch of points and look competent. They lost, but competent on offense. My flex was Zach Moss, the Colts running back. He had 9 points even, 18 carries for 70 yards, and a 2-point conversion. His flex was Jets receiver Garrett Wilson, who had 9 catches for 60 yards. I'm realizing, again, I don't know how many points he had. Garrett Wilson had 15 points even. So not too bad there. All in all, it was pretty good. Other than lost the kicker matchup badly, and I lost the quarterback matchup. If I just got a quarterback who could score any points, I would have been okay. Now, my defense got me 28 points. The Cowboys defense had an incredible game. They destroyed the New England Patriots. They had 2 interceptions. They allowed 3 points total. They had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 2 touchdowns on defense. For me, the defense of the Cowboys was the second highest scoring defense of the week. Love that. He had the 49ers defense, who allowed only 2 points. They allowed 16 points and a sack, but the 49ers defense only brought in 2 points for Jake. I got 28 points from my defense. So a lot of things went right for me this week. The quarterback screwed me. I still cannot believe Deshaun Watson did not play. I am so bitter. I hate losing. It's annoying how much luck and guessing is involved, and we have to say it out loud. Let's just acknowledge what happened here. I made a deal with the devil. Deshaun Watson's not a good person. I said, you know what? I'm going to draft him. I realized I didn't have a quarterback. I wanted a quarterback who could run. I said, I'm going to gamble here and make a deal with the devil and draft Deshaun Watson. We knew he's not a good guy. So I can't complain about how he has no character for not playing for his team in a big rivalry game. We already knew Deshaun Watson didn't have character. He is who we thought he was. But Deshaun Watson, in a massive division rivalry game against the Ravens, did not play. And I want him off my team as a garbage person, and now he's a whip. Why do I have Deshaun Watson? I'm so furious. By the way, Deshaun Watson has a bye this week, so my quarterback is now Zach Wilson. They play Denver. There's a shot Zach Wilson does well. He did really good on Sunday Night Football last week. Let's pray Zach Wilson throws for 7 touchdowns this week. I have no idea what to expect. Can you tell I'm losing it, right? I made this gamble on Deshaun Watson and medically cleared to play, chose not to play. Irritating. Oh, man. Remember when Baker Mayfield played an entire year with an injured right shoulder? His throwing arm? I do. Yeah, the Browns now have a quarterback who, chose not to play as a healthy scratch against a massive division rival. Okay, I'm full of rage and frustration about fantasy football right now. Honestly, I'm not enjoying it. I'm 1-3. It's amazing what happens when you win. When you win, you love it. When you lose, you hate it and you want to leave and skip everything. I should not have made that deal with the devil. Browns tight end David Njoku played with burns on his hands and his face after an accident at home this week. He played through burns on his hands, which he uses to block and catch with, and face. But Deshaun Watson, healthy, medically cleared to play, couldn't play. Your franchise quarterback making a ton of money in a massive game when the guy before him toughed it out like a warrior. We already knew Deshaun Watson had no character. But I made a deal with the devil, and I lost. And I'm paying for my sins now. There were a lot of blowouts throughout the league this week. I actually think of all the guys who lost, I lost by the fewest points. Not the lowest margin of percentage, but 18 points, I think was, as you look around the league, I think the lowest margin of victory. So I think if I just had a quarterback who'd played, at one point I had Derek Carr in my roster. I'm glad I didn't have Derek Carr because Derek Carr would have got me no points either. I would have lost anyway. I think the guy I feel really bad for this week is Andy. Andy lost 108-64. Oof, that's rough. And then Stephen Monday lost. Stephen Monday's team is called Ruggs Racing Crew, which look up Henry Ruggs, and you'll understand why that's a messed up and hilarious name. Stephen Monday lost 148-93 to Jackson's Prison TikTok. So did I say that out loud? I did. That's really our team names. It's so fun. I have to laugh at Phoenix because Phoenix Fife, friend of mine, wouldn't trade me Josh Allen. He tried, and I wouldn't give him Nico Collins. Phoenix once again started Tua over Josh Allen. Remember, all year we've seen him leave the wrong quarterback on the bench. He left Tua on the bench, Tua went off. Then he left Josh Allen on the bench, and Josh Allen went off. So no matter what Phoenix did, he always chose the wrong quarterback every week. He got rid of Josh Allen now. But anytime Phoenix chose Josh Allen instead of Tua, Tua would go off. And anytime he chose Tua over Josh Allen would go off. It happened once again. Phoenix, how was your misery? Are you feeling great? It's fun to laugh at you and watch what's happening, but I feel bad for you. Phoenix lost to Carter 94-64. He started Tua, who had 14 points. By the way, Tua and Josh Allen played against each other. Buffalo played Miami. And leaving Josh Allen on his bench, Josh Allen was the highest scoring quarterback in the league. 5 touchdowns, 36.5 points. Hey, Phoenix, I love you. I know your year's going rough. I dare not step on a man who's down. Remember, I'm 1-3. He's 0-4. He's like the only person in the league doing worse than me. And I just feel bad. Phoenix, right? You gamble. Hey, Phoenix, don't go to Vegas. You're going to lose because it seems like every time you pick a guy, you pick the wrong one. Just don't engage in gambling. You're going to have a horrible time. Also, by the way, his highest scoring receiver, Curtis Samuel, was on his bench. So Curtis Samuel brought in 18.2 points. He started Tua, who had 14. Josh Allen on his bench had 36.5 points. If he starts Josh Allen and Curtis Samuel, he probably wins. That's rough. Also, his tight end, Donald Parham, got him 0 points, which I want to comment on that. People keep suggesting free agents we should pick up in this league. You got to realize there is nobody to pick up. The people available in this football league are like, hey, you want Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback? No, that's it. That's literally it. That's the only person I saw. And you know what? Someone has to start Jimmy Garoppolo this week because there's no one available. There are 16 teams in this league. We are all fighting over scraps. There is nothing available. And anybody who has any good players, like, we're not parting ways with that person. You got to pry them off of my cold, dead body. I am not giving you a running back. I'm not giving you anything. There's nothing available in free agency. This is unlike any fantasy football league you can imagine. You're out there in your little 4-person league. Well, just drop your running back for another starting great running back. There are no starting running backs available in the league. I love that, by the way. I'm complaining about it, but I don't think I'm actually complaining. I chose to have 16 people. It's fun. It's chaotic. It means you have to make really, really close, tough decisions because no one has a stacked, loaded roster. But for anyone who's not in the league, who can't look at our players available, is there a way to make that public, by the way? I'd love to make our league public if that's possible. I should look into that. So people can, really, if they want to from the outside, go scroll through all our data and stuff. That'd be kind of fun. But you got to understand, there is no, any person you can list is not available. Like any person humanly possible, you can say, you should pick up this backup number 2 running back. No, there are no number 2 running backs available in the entire league here. So, for example, Phoenix is screwed. He only has 3 running backs. One of the running backs on Phoenix's team on the depth chart is Rams running back Ronnie Rivers. He's so low on the depth chart, he doesn't even have a headshot. He's played in 1 game, and that's one of the only 3 running backs Phoenix has on his entire football team. That is how difficult it is to find a good player and how scarce talented players are in this league because there's just so many people with teams and everyone as a whole everywhere. There was a big trade made. Phoenix did trade away Josh Allen. Let's talk about it. Phoenix got wide receiver Amari Cooper on the Browns, tight end Hunter Henry in New England, and quarterback Daniel Jones. Heshme got wide receiver Tyler Lockett, wide receiver Tyler Boyd, and Josh Allen. So Phoenix got a new receiver, a tight end, and a quarterback, Daniel Jones. I don't think Phoenix really did better here. I think Tyler Boyd's going to get better as the year goes on. The Bengals offense has been bad. There's no way they're going to stay bad all year. You brought in a tight end that's useless in this league. Amari Cooper, maybe. Daniel Jones, I guess you already have Tua, so you're fine. You don't need another great quarterback, but I just would question how much better Phoenix really got. I'd love to hear from Phoenix. We'll talk about him at some point. We'll have him maybe on the show. I think we play each other at some point. Either way, at some point we got to get Phoenix on to hear him explain this trade because I don't fully understand, but again, he got the most he could for Josh Allen, I guess. Amari Cooper is really what you got. You got a backup quarterback, Daniel Jones. You gave up a lot to get Daniel Jones, a tight end, and Amari Cooper. Like I don't really know how your team got better, but whatever. You're screwed again. He's only got 2 running backs. His number 3 running back is Ronnie Rivers, who I've literally never heard of. No offense to Ronnie Rivers. I'm a football guy. I eat, sleep, and breathe football probably more than the majority of humans on planet Earth. I'd never heard of Ronnie Rivers. That's how thin the market is for running backs in this league. Let's go through the standings. In first place, the number 1 team in our league, you got Sam Colburn. His team name is Ayahuasca Won't Fix That. Remember, he drafted Aaron Rodgers. He's still doing pretty well. He's 3-1, number 1 first place in the league. Remember, I told you right after the draft, hey, Sam Colburn's the guy who's going to win this league. He denied it. Those allegations that I'm not very good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. Are you sure you're not very good? You're 3-1. Yeah, you survived Aaron Rodgers, your starting quarterback, getting hurt out for the year. Tell me again how Sam Colburn is not going to win this league. I don't believe you. He's the best guy we got. He's the only hope of me having something go right for me as I picked him early on to win the league. So Sam, because I'm 1-3, I'm horrible. You better win the league to at least, so I can at least say, hey, I might have drafted horribly. I might have done everything wrong, but at least I could recognize the person who is going to do good. Sam, it's all on you. My reputation now is solely on Sam Colburn winning. And I hate you, Sam, because you got George Pickens when I wanted him. So I still hate you, but I love you. In second place, we got Sutton on D's Nuts. That's a reference to Cortland Sutton, who's on this team. That's the Broncos wide receiver. In third place, we've got Jackson's Prison TikTok. He's 3-1. Bustin' on Cousins is 4th at 3-1. The first 2-2 team in fifth place is 24/7 Ass ETN season. Remember, that's Travis. I got to look this up. Trevor, which is the one on the Jacksonville Jaguars? I did this last week too. Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne is the one on the Jaguars. So Trevor Etienne is a guy in college, his little brother playing for Florida. In sixth place, we got Touchdown Jesus. He's 2-2. In seventh, how'd that get up there? Jake's team. Remember the rectal pliers, which how'd that get up there? I have no idea. In eighth place, we've got Children of Analytics. Carter, you're the only person now. Carter, you need to send me a DM. Explain your team name. I'm going to make fun of you every week. What? Children of Analytics. What does that mean? It's not good. It's not interesting. There's no joke there. There's no funny pun. We're all pretty good. All 16 teams have a fairly decent name now. I should probably change my team name because I got to get rid of, we'll call it Wilson wannabes or something, because now Zach Wilson's going to be my starting quarterback. I can't stand Deshaun Watson anymore, which that's how bad things have fallen. Oh, God. But, Carter, you're the only person with kind of a mid-team name. It's not horrible. It's fine. I think you can do better, though. I shouldn't come at you with an attack. I should just say I encourage you to think of a better name, because I think you can do better than Children of Analytics. In ninth, you got Ruggs Racing Crew. In 10th, you got Just Another Florida Man. In 11th, we got Star Moore, A New Hope. Star Morris, I think, which is a reference to Sky Moore, the Kansas City receiver. In 12th, we got the Jordan Rules. Remember, the quarterback there is Jordan Love. In 13th, Addison Vet Services. That's Logan's team. In 14th, we've got my team, the Serial Predators. We're 1-3. or the first. There's only 2 1-3 teams, me and then X not giving it to you. The Austin Eckler reference. X not going to give it to you is in 15th. And then in 16th, dead last with a running back, Ronnie Rivers. I should look him up. I threw him a lot of shade. Who is Ronnie Rivers? Let me educate myself. Ronnie Rivers, running back. You got it. By the way, if you look up Ronnie Rivers, he doesn't show up immediately. You got to look up running back before he starts to show up. He was undrafted in the 2022 draft. He was signed by the Cardinals. Now he's in LA. Where did he play college football? Ronnie Rivers played, I don't know this person at all. College football. Ronnie Rivers played at Fresno State. I haven't watched a lot of Fresno State games. Plus, he's undrafted. Did he even make a roster last year? No shade. I'm not trying to attack the guy. Either way, Phoenix's team, his team name is now Cooper's. I can't even talk. Phoenix's team is 0-4. His team name is Cooper Needs His Cup, which is funny and true and hilarious. Week 5, I play that team I referenced, Sutton on D's Nuts, the Cortland Sutton team. He has Patrick Mahomes, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle. I'm probably going to get obliterated. My quarterback is Zach Wilson because Deshaun Watson's on a bye week. And frankly, if I can find a reasonable trade. Hey, Heshme, you want to trade Deshaun Watson for Josh Allen straight up? I just want to get rid of him. I hate him. And I don't want him being part of my identity as a football team anymore. Zach Wilson was promising week 4, though. I have hope he could actually do well. I did intentionally pick him up because I needed a quarterback. And of all the guys available, it was like Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Dobbs, or Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson had a really good game week 4 on Sunday night against Kansas City. He plays Denver this week, who is horrible. They just made Justin Fields look really good. So I think there is a good possibility here Zach Wilson actually does fairly well. And whether they win or not, fantasy-wise, he could have a couple touchdowns and make me look pretty good. I am rooting for Zach Wilson. I feel really good about having Zach as my starting quarterback. Because unlike having Deshaun Watson, who I begrudgingly want to see do well, but I kind of hate as a human, I love Zach Wilson. Zach stick together. We love Zachs. I'm rooting for him as a person. I can now openly want my quarterback to do well and not feel guilty about it. I'm really miscalculated. Drafting Deshaun Watson, I didn't think of the emotional cost, how much I would hate myself when I lose. And, I could have hated myself winning, but now that I'm losing and I still hate myself, it's not fun. It's not good at all. I hope people like this episode, man. I'm having fun with this. The 49ers play Dallas, so my defense, that's going to be tough. On top of that, George Kittle has been horrible for me. George Kittle is going to play against the Dallas Cowboys defense. I don't know if that means he's going to do well, because maybe in a tough game, Brock Purdy, the young quarterback in San Francisco, leans a little more heavily on his tight end. But I'm trying to decide whether I should put Dalton Kincaid, my tight end from Buffalo, the rookie who's doing pretty well, and week in and week out has been outscoring George Kittle. It feels like a no-brainer. I should probably just go back to and make Dalton Kincaid my starting tight end. And maybe, though, here's another problem. So I cut Odell Beckham Jr. to bring in Zach Wilson. OBJ was doing nothing, didn't even play. He's been hurt. He's been garbage. Not as a person, just fantasy-wise, not provided points for me. My running back situation is really screwed because Jahmyr Gibbs is underperforming. They're not even using him in Detroit. Isaiah Pacheco is my other starter. He's a good running back. They got 3 they used, though, in Kansas City. He's not reliable to get a lot of points. He does occasionally. He had 24 on Sunday night, week 4 against the Jets, but he's hit or miss every week. Zach Moss has been my flex for the last couple weeks at running back. Jonathan Taylor, the Colts starting running back, is coming back. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what to expect from Indy because they play the Titans this week. That's a good defense who runs the ball, who stops the run really well. They got a good defense. Do I bench Zach Moss? Because A, he's going to be splitting carries now with Jonathan Taylor. Also, they're playing a good defense. I can't imagine Zach Moss is going to have a great game. But what if Jonathan Taylor has a slow start? They want to use Zach Moss a lot. I mean, I'm really terrified of benching Zach Moss, and he has like 3 touchdowns, and I just get obliterated, and it could have been avoided. And do I dare start 2 tight ends? Like maybe I start Dalton Kincaid as my tight end and then George Kittle as my flex. I'm not sure what to do at my flex spot here. Kareem Hunt and Josh Kelly, my other running backs that have been in conversation for the flex spot, they both have bye weeks. So I just don't know what to do here this week. It's really going to come down to which one of I need 2 of the 3 to play. George Kittle, Dalton Kincaid, or Zach Moss. Which 2 of those 3 do I pick? I have no idea. I got to make a decision. I got a couple days to think about it. Luckily, none of them play on Thursday night, so I can at least really stew on it and think about this. Write in, though. Let me know, because I straight up don't know. I'd love to hear. I want to bounce ideas off of the audience. So, Zach Moss, again, splitting carries with Jonathan Taylor, playing a tough defense. Tennessee is good at stopping the run. George Kittle plays a great defense. Dallas, but maybe that actually leads to him getting more touches because the young quarterback, tight ends often are your safety blanket in a tough game. Either way, Dalton Kincaid is going to play for me. It's really going to come down to who's my flex, Zach Moss or George Kittle. George Kittle's been so bad for me for so long. I probably got to go with Zach Moss because of how unproductive George Kittle's been. But I'm so scared. I'm so scared here because either one, there's ramifications. What if the other one does really well? I'm really, really terrified of this decision. It's worth mentioning, by the way, week 4, the highest scoring running back was Christian McCaffrey. And he had almost 50 points. He had 48.7 points, 4 total touchdowns, 3 touchdown runs, a touchdown catch, 20 carries, 106 yards, 7 catches for 71 yards receiving. Shout out to Christian McCaffrey. Great game for him. I'm going to make a cut here because I am now going to have a guest on the show. We're going to talk to Jake, who beat my behind. He basically shoved pliers up my ass. Jake is going to come on the show, so I'm going to make a cut here. I love you guys. I'll see you in a second. Let's now hear from Jake. Hey guys, it's Zach after the recording session, and I realized somehow I didn't record his video. I recorded a backup of mine because I'm neurotic and scared, but the program we used only recorded our audio together. So I have his audio, my audio, and video of me, because again, I record like 3 tracks always of my video because I'm always afraid, but somehow we didn't get his video. So here's a headshot of Jake. Enjoy that while he talks. Joining me now is Jake. He just kicked my butt in fantasy football, and I'm not happy about it. Jake, I want to let you know, first of all, where are you from? What part of the country? Or part of the world? Colorado. Okay. So are there any bridges near you? Because where I'm from, go ahead first. Are there bridges near you?
Not big ones, stuff that maybe might cross like a sewage pipe, but that's about it.
Yeah, you're in the mountains, I guess. Where I'm from, there's a bridge called the 205 Bridge that goes across the Columbia River. It's massive and really high up in the air. I want you to know, here's how I'm feeling about fantasy football right now. I'm on the edge of the bridge, looking down. I'm like, do I jump? I'm not happy. It's going horrible for me. I'm 1-3. My quarterback didn't play at all this week. It was brutal.
Yeah, that was rough. And you didn't have a backup either to throw in there, which made it even worse.
Yeah. Well, dude, until like minutes before the game, first of all, I was asleep. I told the story in the show. Like I was, had some jazz cabbage the night before, and which I learned on the show. I love that reference. I woke up like at 7:01 Hawaii time, which the game starts at 7 a.m. I'm like, he's not playing? Are you serious? Like a big rivalry game. He's healthy scratch. He's not playing, and he wasn't. And I furious that he didn't play. Like, oh my gosh.
Not only that, you also had a trade that went through that you may not have wanted to go through.
I did talk about that. I recorded the rest of the show earlier. I talked about the interesting stuff that happened there. But before we get into what happened, can we hear from you? You're from the Colorado area. You told me something before we started recording that was really compelling. What are you doing right now in life, and where are you trying to go? Because I loved your story you just told me.
Yeah, so when I was younger, there was some unfortunate financial things that happened, legal system junk, and our family didn't have a lot of money. So I ended up having to drop out of high school and worked for Walgreens for a while there, and then worked with my mom actually on the side as well, and worked a couple jobs since I was like 15, 16, I think. But just recently, I actually was talking to a college I was talking to that's focusing in like journalism and media, and we got talking, and I just today finished the last of the high set tests I had to take to be able to get into the school, which are like the equivalency tests for high school. And I got like 90 plus on the first 4. I did the math one today, or 90+% on the first 4. I did the math one today, and I think I did really good. I hope so. We'll find out when I get the results back. But as long as I pass that, I can get into college and start working. I'm going to sports journalism, actually, which will be super cool.
Dude, I want you to know, from what I know about you, you're a high school dropout who did that to help take care of your family, who now is going to college, trying to, and working, taking steps And by the way, the paperwork associated with all of that, as a guy who went to 4 colleges, I understand how insanely difficult all of that is. I just want to, give you a tip of the cap, flip of the hair. I have no idea, but I just really admire you for that, because you're pursuing your dreams, you're going in a direction you want, you're doing all the fighting it takes to make that happen. And on a personal level, aside from sports, aside from you kicking my ass in fantasy football, that's an amazing thing. And I just want you to know I'm rooting for you. And I just want the audience to know that's an incredible story, man. That's so cool.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but we're getting there, and hopefully, the dream is to do something like this one day, or maybe even just be on a radio show. I was just telling you, my sports journalism teacher, cool enough, is getting on the biggest sports station in Colorado as of like last week, which is super exciting. So something along those lines as well would be really fun.
My favorite podcast is a show called Sacred Symbols, and one of the co-hosts now on the show, Dustin Furman, was like a longtime fan of the show, who then became the editor, then became a co-host. And I'm still figuring my shit out. I have no idea what I'm doing. But like my dream, my little pipe dream, is to build a company big enough where I can hire some people. And I think I'd love to hire Logan as an editor. We're already kind of talking about, can we make that work? And maybe someday we make a move and bring you on. I mean, that's so far away. I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's the kind of stuff I'd love to do. And you're the kind of person who is already invested, knows the content that'd be fun to hire. And if I could ever make that happen, you're the kind of person I'd love to hire. That's just a cool story, and you clearly, you fight really hard, and I really admire you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, obviously years down the line, I'd want to get educated and everything, but that would be the coolest thing ever. I mean, I was actually, when you went on that break recently, I was curious, so I scrolled back through YouTube to see when I first started watching. And the first full episode I ever watched was the one when you talked about the Jimmy Garoppolo to the Niners trade. That is the first full episode I watched. I've watched almost every episode since.
Man, that's so... We're about to hit 600 episodes, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, I know, right?
I talked about it earlier in the show. Like, I love interacting with people. Like, we're kind of building a community with strong opinion sports. There's a guy, Joel, who reached out to me, sent me an email. He's like, hey, I live in Hawaii. Do you want to go to a high school football game? And I think we're going to go to a game on Saturday. And he might be a serial killer. I have no idea. So if I disappear Sunday, that's what happened. Joel got me. Joel killed me. But otherwise, I think it's fun to like meet strangers basically and build community and build connection. And I feel like I wish more people who have a podcast or had like kind of I don't like the term audience, but it's true. Like people that pay attention to them interacted better with them and had them on the show and did more fun stuff. And I don't know. I just think this is the right way to do it. It's so cool. Can we talk about fantasy football? Can we talk about your team and how your season's going? Because I am down in the dumps. I hate myself. I made a deal with the devil, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
it's not only going badly. If I was winning with Deshaun Watson, I would hate myself, but at least be winning. But I hate myself and I'm losing, so I can't even swallow it. Yeah. How do you feel about your season? How's it going?
Well, I think I'm 2-2, right? I'm dead average. If it makes you feel any better, in another league I actually had Watson as well, and it was okay, but it's not as fun rooting watching fantasy football and rooting for your team when the guy you're rooting for and that you need to score is Watson. So I ended up trading him. But this league, I'm really liking it. I like my team. I think I did good. I don't know how I got my hands on Garrett Wilson. I could be wrong, but if I remember right, someone dropped him or something, which in a 16-team league is insane. I might be making that mixed up with another league I'm in, because that happened also in another league. But in a 16-team league, I got Garrett Wilson for free. It's awesome. But I think my receivers are pretty good. I nabbed Kamara, which is awesome. He got me 20-something points last week along with Saquon. And then I have 2 really good quarterbacks. I have Anthony Richardson, who's high upside, high ceiling, low floor, and then Brock Purdy, who's the safe bet. So I think I've got the best of both worlds there. So I think I'm in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's not flashy, but I'd imagine he gets you 18 to 22 points every week, right? I mean, he's just consistently solid.
Yeah, he's always in the upper teens, right? Like from just recently, he's always in the upper teens. He's consistent. I never have to worry about losing, right? And so the way I'm thinking I'm going to play it is the big games where I really need points, I'm going to go with Richardson and hope for those blow-up games. And then on the games where I feel a little more comfortable to make sure I secure those wins, I'm going to stick with Brock Purdy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or like a bye week. I mean, maybe that says something about Brock Purdy as a player, is that he's never, football, fantasy football aside,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem to have just a horrible garbage game. Like we watch a lot of quarterbacks just fall apart and be miserable, and he might have an average game, and he just kind of kills it with great players around him, but he never seems to have just an atrocious, awful performance at all.
Yeah, no, he's consistent. He's always good. He's never the best, right? I'm never gonna, get some 30-point game out of him, but I never have to worry about him dropping like 5, right? Which, as a Giants fan myself, it's easy to start expecting that. So with Brock Purdy, I get a little bit more safety there.
I was ranting earlier on the show. I'm playing you this week. Your tight end is Cole Kmet, the Bears tight end, and I'm like, sweet, no threat here. We're fine.
Yeah.
Why is it that finally, like, the week that I'm playing against a member of the Bears decide to score a bunch of points and like look somewhat competent on offense? I'm like, are you kidding me? That feels like the worst luck ever. How'd you feel about Cole Kmet's performance?
I was the same way. I looked at my tight end and I was like, I don't remember who it was. It was like, I want to say it was still like Zach Ertz or something at the time, who has been up and down and really rough other than like the 1 week he got a touchdown. And so I was like, I want to try something else because this is going to be a rough game. You had a pretty decent lineup in, and I think if you had a quarterback in, I think it would have been a really close game.
I would have beat you. Come on now.
Maybe.
And then Brock Purdy, I would have won.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, I went out and I was like, the best bet's Cole Kmet. There's not a lot of options. It's the Bears. Broncos kind of suck recently, so maybe that'll work out. And I was hoping for like 3, 4, 5, just points. And then that happened. So it worked out.
Yeah, I would say so. Dude, I'm learning tight ends are so fickle here in fantasy football in general. I mean, George Kittle's a great player who's been absolutely garbage for me in fantasy football. Like I'm kind of flabbergasted by the tight end position. It's my first time playing fantasy football, and I'm like, well, I just don't think. And also, their point scale is crazy because 27 points off of 2 touchdowns, 85 yards receiving is kind of insane. Like it's not even when they do well, they score way higher points than a receiver would at that same amount of numbers. So I just don't even. Tight ends are like this mystery elusive thing I don't seem to have a grasp on yet.
Yeah, tight ends are actually worse this year than they normally are. Normally, you at least have like the top 5-ish tight ends are like consistently good. You got your Kittle, your Kittle, your Kelsey, your Waller, right? The Andrews. This year, no one's really been that except for Kelsey. So it's really hard to work with tight ends, it looks like. But I mean, I think that the trick is history. I don't know if you've looked at like the previous years of fantasy, and you can kind of see those trends, right? If you want to have a decent tight end, you got to take one early. If you, certain thing like that, you may want to.
Yeah,
take
there's only like 4 or 5,
right?
Historically, right?
Right. Yeah. Like personally, I actually really prefer standard formats rather than PPR. Because like you were saying, like 2 touchdowns and 85 yards for like 27 points is crazy, right? But in like standard, that would only be like 20-ish, right? The difference is in standard and PPR. In PPR, you get a point per reception. But with standard, you look at someone like Kamara, who got 13 points but didn't really do much else. Or 13 catches, but didn't really do much else.
Yeah.
And his point total blew up for me in the PPR league that you have. But in my other league at Standard, it would have been a risky decision to start him because he really didn't do much in the game other than catch a bunch of balls for like no yardage, right?
Yeah, 13 catches for 33 yards is insane.
Right.
I haven't watched that game. I don't know exactly what happened, but I mean, I watched a little, but like, I want to see how that went out. Like, what was he catching the ball and losing yards? Was he like getting tackled on a swing route every time at the line of scrimmage? Like, how do you even do that? Have 13 catches for only 33 yards? That's insane.
I don't know, and I was thinking about it too because I haven't seen it yet as well. But my guess is he probably was closer to like 50-ish yards, but probably had 1 or 2 really rough plays that brought him back a bunch. That's kind of my guess, but I really want to go back and watch it and find out.
Yeah, I have no idea. Were there any tough decisions for you this week? Anything like you have Saquon on your bench? That's unfortunate because he's been injured. Was there any decisions going into this week? Like, who do I start, this guy or that guy? Like, what do I do here?
Yeah, so the quarterback one was also a hard one, right? You had also real quick. By the way, my team name's awesome. just came to my mind. I think someone owes me an apology.
Dude, you got to listen to the beginning of the show. I talked openly. I was
Good.
praying at the altar of Jake, saying, like, dude, once I understood your team name,
Yeah.
I even had fun with it. I was like, there's a lot of fun stuff you can put up your butt. Pliers is not one of those things.
I don't know how it happened. I found that picture and I was like, this is it. It's great.
Dude, I can't believe I made fun of you without understanding, because once I realized, I was like, that's actually maybe the funniest name in the entire league.
It's my favorite fantasy name I've ever had, by far.
Well, dude, it relies on the logo. I mean, that's
yeah.
the part I just didn't quite...
Right.
I wasn't connecting the dots, like how much... Without the logo, it'd be a horrible name. But once you see the logo, you're like, wait
Right.
a minute, this
It's
is
a two-parter.
amazing.
Yeah.
All good jokes are. If they take you a
Right.
minute to understand it and really think about it, that's a really clever joke,
Yeah.
and you nailed it, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Sorry,
Yeah.
back to your other point. It just popped in my head. The quarterback one was really hard. But receivers have been really hard for me all season, right? Because I have 3 guys who should be killing it, but have been super inconsistent, right? So I've got DK Metcalf. I've got here we are. Garrett Wilson, and I've got CeeDee Lamb, right? I've also got Rashad Bateman, but he's definitely the lesser of the 3.
Man. Is he even healthy? Like, he seems like he never wants to play.
Yeah, when he's healthy, he looks great, but he's not always on the field. But yeah, those are 3 guys though that, like, CeeDee somehow had his first touchdown against the Patriots, which makes no sense, but whatever. But I mean, we're 4 weeks in, and up to that point, during this game, he hadn't scored a touchdown. Garrett Wilson's been whatever he's been, and then you got DK Metcalf, who's probably been the most consistent, but even then, not stellar. And so I kind of had to make this choice of, like, do I run with, like 3 running backs, right? Or do I go 3 receivers and then throw in, like, Wilson, Lamb, and Metcalf? And if I only go 2, which 2 do I go with? Because it's a really hard choice. I don't really trust any of them at the moment. And I end up going with all 3, which I think was the right choice in the end. I got decent points out of all of them. Wilson was iffy, but, I mean, it worked out.
I'm curious. It feels like I want you're another person you can vouch for me in this league. People that aren't in this league, 16 people is a lot of people. People keep suggesting, you should pick up this guy in free agency. You should pick up this guy. I'm like, there is nobody available. Like, people have no idea that, like, any name you can throw out there has already been gobbled up weeks ago.
Yep.
There's not a person you can just randomly find in free agency. Talk to me about that process for this league.
So, for example, I just pulled it up. If you look at the top receivers that are available in our league right now, you've got Calvin Austin, Alan Lazard, and Sky Moore. And then Odell Beckham, who might not even play, and then Slayton, who's whatever he is. So yeah, it's not like there's a lot of options. In a normal league where there's like 12 teams, you've got pretty much our entire benches in free agency, right? Because what our benches are now wouldn't normally be even on a team. So there's a lot more restriction in it. And it makes it a lot harder to go through free agency. But it is nice, though, that everyone's dealing with that issue. So it makes it a little bit more handleable.
Yeah, like, dude, Phoenix's team, his number 3 running back is Ronnie Rivers, a guy from Fresno State, who I'd never heard of before I looked him up during the show. I was like, who is this person? Like, that's how, like light and, what's the right word, thin everyone is when it comes to building their roster. And running back just is incredibly valuable in this league. I mean, talk to me about, because the running back position is one... I made a critical error. It wasn't until like midway through the draft I realized that in fantasy football, you don't have one starting running back, you have 2. I was like, oh, flip, I am screwed. And I had to scramble, and I picked up Isaiah Pacheco immediately. But running back is everything, not only in fantasy, but in this league especially when there's just not any available. Yeah. Can you vouch for that?
Yeah, in most leagues, or in standard leagues, right, running backs are even more important, right, because you're looking at... you aren't including receptions. And so receivers averaging 20 points just like doesn't happen. But it does for running backs. And so there's like a big difference there from PPR to standard. But even in PPR, like in our league, running backs are a lot more consistent, right? Running backs are generally like the guy. And even if they're not, there's a lot less variation in who gets the ball at the position, right? It's not like you've got the 2 tight ends, 3, 4 receivers, whoever that may be spreading all the carry or all the touches. With running backs, like look at Isaiah Pacheco versus all their receivers, right? They've got like 6 guys catching the ball, but then they've got like 2 that run the ball, right? And because of that, Isaiah Pacheco's a great guy to have, which clearly worked out for you this week. But running backs can give a lot more consistency, but with our league, again, like you can't get the guys that get the bell cow guys, right? They get the consistent carries because again, our top options are Ezekiel Elliott, Damian Harris, who I don't even think is the backup at the moment, and like Rashawn Johnson, right? So there's not a lot of options there. It's trading seems a lot more important in this league than in most leagues I've been in because it's the only place you can really get good talent.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. I want to talk about the trade for Josh Allen in a moment. But first, you keep referring to. So remember, I'm new to fantasy football, and I don't know if I built our league properly or not. I really have no idea. Yeah. Can you explain the difference between PPR and what that even means versus like a standard fantasy football league?
So really, there's 3 different types of fantasy leagues, right? There's 3 different formats. There's standard, there's PPR, and there's half PPR. Half PPR is probably the most common among like higher level fantasy leagues, right? If you look at all like the fantasy experts out there, they're normally playing in like half PPR from what I've seen at least. And the difference is
what does PPR mean? What's that acronym stand for?
So the
Point per
difference
reception?
is exactly that's the only change. There's no other change in the league other than there's a point per reception or half a point per reception, right? So it doesn't affect kickers and defenses and quarterbacks. It really only affects the skill positions, right? The receiver, tight end, and running back. And with receivers, the biggest thing, right? Because you get guys who may not get the most yards, right? Someone like I can't think off the top of my head, but someone who may be more like Keenan Allen, right? Who isn't really like a deep threat guy, but he's one of the best route runners in the league and can get open on those short routes. In a standard league, someone who's averaging like 80 yards a game and like half a touchdown isn't that stellar. But in a PPR league, you see someone like Keenan Allen and think, well, he's going to get me like 10 receptions a game sometimes. So that's an extra 10 points there, which already puts him above someone who's going to be more of a deep threat.
I can't imagine not a guy. For example, building our league, I almost included like completions as a thing we started giving points for because it feels weird to not. Like, if you're doing something productive, I feel like you should get rewarded for it. So I can't imagine a league that's not giving you a reward for catching a pass, for example. Like, that feels like a thing that should generate points.
It's hard, right? Because there's also the layer of, like, a Alvin Kamara, right? Alvin Kamara, I don't remember his exact stat line, but I want to say it was, like, 60 yards or 30 yards and, like, a touchdown or something, right? But in our league, he was up there as, like, one of the top 5 running backs this week, I think, which is kind of weird for a 30-yard and one touchdown game. It really doesn't feel right. But when you realize he has 13 receptions, a lot of that changes. So there's
to
a give
me,
and take there.
I want to say it feels right to value that. Like Christian McCaffrey should be the highest scoring running back in all of football, not only because he's running, but because he adds another value, which is catching passes. To me, that just feels like right. But is that a not common thing in fantasy football?
No, it's very common, and it makes the game a lot more fair, I think, because it equals out receivers and running backs, right? Because in a standard league, running backs are the golden gem. There's nothing more important than a running back, and a lot of times the entire first round of a league will be running backs only, and then like a receiver and Travis Kelce, right? But in a PPR league, you can really get more value out of receivers, and it can even out the playing field a bit. When I first started playing fantasy, I started by playing standard, and ever since that's what I've played, So majority of the leagues I play in are that.
Would it be dumb to build a league with like 4 flexes, and that way running back and receiver, there is no difference?
No, so some people, there are leagues like that where there's like 3 different flex positions, and then like one receiver, one running back. It's a lot less common, but it can happen. It just means though that certain times like it'll be pretty much packed with running backs, right? You'll see these teams that have almost completely running backs in all their flex spots versus the teams that just couldn't get their hands on as many running backs. And the guys with running backs just have a huge advantage, right? That's like the issue with tight ends.
Yeah.
There was, I don't remember what year it was, like 19 or something, that if you had drafted Travis Kelce, there was this crazy higher chance that you were going to win the Super Bowl, right? The amount of people that won the Super Bowl that year, it was like I don't remember what percentage exactly. It was like 50% of the people in Super Bowl across all of fantasy football had drafted Travis Kelce because there's such an advantage there, right? And so if you have those little advantages in fantasy football, like having 3 running backs versus having 3 receivers, can make a huge difference. But there are leagues that are called super flex, where your flex position can also include a quarterback as well, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, we had a vote before the league started. I was trying to, because I knew tight end with 16 people, there's only like, on a good year, 5 productive tight ends in the NFL. Right. I was like, man, we're going to have, 11 people in our league that can't, like, Phoenix had Donald Parham as his tight end this week, who got him 0 points. Like, it's really thin at tight end. And we had a conversation as a league. Should we do no tight end, 2 flexes, or should we have a tight end and a flex? And everyone voted to have 1 flex and a tight end. But I was kind of like, man, I feel like we're shafting half of our league. And although I was wrong, I thought me drafting George Kittle and Dalton Kincaid would mean I had 2 great tight ends. That's not been true at all. So it's funny how, like, it's just kind of elusive to me. I'm still learning, and it's fun to gather all these bits of information about fantasy football.
Yeah, tight ends are tricky. In my other league, I actually drafted Darren Waller, which hasn't really worked out.
Oh, you poor son of a gun, man.
But it's one of these things where, like, even though it's unfair in a way, right? You still have that pick. So while you may not be taking a tight end in round 3, one of those top 5 tight ends, you still have that pick to take a running back. And those guys that don't have, or that took those tight ends early to get those good tight ends, do have to give up a bit, right? They have to take or they have to take 1 less receiver, 1 less running back early, which can hurt your team. So there is a give and take there, and you definitely have an advantage if you take a tight end. But I think it's almost in the nature of fantasy to be unfair, right? That's what football is. Football can't be fair. Guys are just better than others. New York is always going to have an advantage over somewhere like Green Bay because the market's bigger and it's going to be easier for them to get guys like Miami, right? No state income tax. It's unfair, but it's part of the game.
Can you talk to me about? I have been realizing and learning how much like luck and fortune and it really comes down to, like, you have to get lucky sometimes. Can you talk to me about that? Because I kind of hate that about fantasy football. I'm learning, like, you can do a lot of stuff that you think is right and then just get obliterated because someone has a bad game or something like out of left field happens. You're like, what? Like, for example, Deshaun Watson not playing felt like an extremely unfortunate thing. I'm like, are you serious? Like, he's not going to play in this massive game. And it was out of
the blue, right? Like, I don't even remember him being questionable. It was odd.
He was questionable all week, but then he got medically cleared.
Right, that's
and then
what it was.
chose not to play. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, if he'd played, I lost by 18 points to you, which I think was actually the lowest margin of points to lose by in the entire league this week. I don't know if I would have beat you, but I would have had a way better chance if I had a quarterback playing.
Right, because 18 points is about what you'll get out of a quarterback.
Yeah, I felt like I was a quarterback away from making it really competitive and close.
Right.
Like, I could have stomached losing to you by 1 point. I would have been like, yeah, I got, right?
Right.
But, oh, man. So tell me about luck and how that plays a part in fantasy for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of luck, but I've always looked at luck as, it's an old saying, but luck is just a mixture of preparation and success is a mixture of preparation and luck, right? And so if you can prepare well, right, get the right guys on your field by looking at what they've done in the past, their situations, right, you can take advantage of when that luck strikes, right, or get that luck to strike more often. I just made that trade recently between Cam Akers and Drake London, and that's a very similar thing, right, where Cam Akers hadn't been traded yet, but he was asking to be traded, and I had him, and I didn't love it, so I traded for Drake London, which I actually like that move even after the trade, because Cam Akers has been odd, right? And in the several years he's played on teams who have run the ball well before and after him, right? You look at Kyron Williams, who's done good. He was iffy. Even in situations where other guys similar to him have done well. But Drake London, he is unproven completely, right? To me, I'm looking at Drake London as a 50-50 shot, right, with a quarterback who's not doing great, which means he's probably going to get benched soon for the guy behind him, who's Taylor Heineke, right, who is, I don't know he'll do great, but Taylor Heineke is much more likely of producing a top-tier receiver than someone like Desmond Ridder. And so I saw Drake London as a guy I can buy low, put him on the bench until Desmond Ridder hopefully gets either sat or they just do something else with him, right? Because he's not doing great. And then when Heineken comes in, I can play him and hopefully he'll do better, right? So right now I'm sucking with Drake London, but maybe eventually, right, since I prepared, if this luck strikes and they do put in Heineke, I now have a guy who can possibly even be like a top 20, top 15 receiver in a super deep league with 16 teams, you know?
I'm really glad you said all that, because I think I'm realizing now, I think when you're losing, it's easy to call someone lucky.
Yeah.
I'm just bitter. I just hate losing, right? Like, the reality is I want credit for picking the Dallas Cowboys. I was the first person to pick a defense because I knew they were going to score, and they scored me 40 points last week. They were the second highest scoring defense this week. So, like, we make these decisions. I want credit for the good ones, but if I lose, I want to call it lucky. I think I'm kind of I'm wrong and a hypocrite here on this. Like, for example, like I picked up Zach Wilson to be my quarterback this week. Deshaun Watson's on a bye week, and I'm going to figure out how to get rid of him if I can anyway. Zach Wilson, by the way, is fun to root for. Like, It's so crazy when you have a quarterback you kind of hate. Like, it's like, I don't think anyone else who doesn't have a player like, Deshaun Watson, there's not a lot of guys like him running around the league that you just actively want to see fail. Even though, like, I want him to do well so my team can win, my fantasy football team. Zach Wilson's a person who I love rooting for. But I picked up Zach after having a good game on Sunday night. They're playing the Denver Broncos this week. I made that decision. I chose to pick him up. And if he has a great game, I would be furious if someone called me lucky. I'm like, no, I looked at the situation. I looked at the way he's trending. So maybe I'm just wrong, involving luck as much as I think there is a part of it, but you're also talking to a bitter guy on the edge of the bridge ready to end it all because his team is 1-3.
Pretty roughly to me, so gotta rub it in a bit,
Yeah, I got two more things I want to talk about. First of all, I've got a dilemma here this next week. I've got Dalton Kincaid at tight end, George Kittle at tight end, and Zach Moss. Zach Moss in Indy, they brought back Jonathan Taylor, so they're going to be splitting reps, I would imagine. They're also playing Tennessee, who's got a good run defense. George Kittle's been so unproductive for me all year long, but they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, which either means he's going to have a horrible game or Brock Purdy in kind of a tough game might lean on his tight end a little more. And then Dalton Kincaid, I'm just going to bench George Kittle, make him my tight end. So I guess it really comes down to who should I play at flex, Zach Moss or George Kittle? You don't have to answer if you want, but I talked about it on the show. Like I'm really kind of not sure what to do here. I wanted feedback from people. So what do you think, Zach Moss or George Kittle as my flex? Do you have any thoughts there?
I haven't heard. So this is where I sit, right? I haven't heard anything because I have Zach Moss in another league as well, actually. And I'm in a similar situation where I haven't decided if I start him or someone else. And I think it's actually him or Kamara is what I'm deciding right now. And Jonathan Taylor is the question mark to me, right? Because I haven't been I haven't kept up a whole lot with his situation, but I'll tell you right now, if I were him, after the things that my team's owner has said to and about me, and if what he's saying is true, that he lied about him being injured so that he couldn't be traded, blah, 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 I'll tell you right now, I'm not going in and putting in 100% and risking myself getting injured when I could be a free agent soon and want to go to another team at a position that's already not getting paid a lot. I don't know if I'm going to go out there and put out 100% for someone who's, treated me this way, if I'm even going to go out there, right? And so I don't think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the number one at the moment. I really think Zach Moss is. And at least in my eyes, I see it as I can risk that for a week or two. So I'm going to play him, right? Because I'm gonna risk Zach Moss being, mediocre because there's a good chance he's not, right? And that's that like luck versus preparation conversation, right? So,
well, I would say I think you helped me make my decision because I'm realizing it now. So I'm going to start Dalton Kincaid as my tight end. George Kittle's been so unproductive. So Dalton Kincaid, rookie tight end of Buffalo, he's my tight end for this week. And then it comes down to if I lose, right? Because I got to pick between Zach Moss or George Kittle as my flex player. If I pick Zach Moss and I'm wrong, and George Kittle has like 4 touchdowns, I can really sleep at night feeling okay because he's been so unproductive all year long. They're playing against a great defense. That feels like less predictable than Zach Moss, who's been consistently scoring me a lot of points and doing great. If I bet on George Kittle for no reason and abandon Zach Moss, who's been so reliable all year, I would have a tougher time swallowing that, being wrong. So I think I'm going to play Zach Moss as my flex because, again, if I'm wrong about that one, I can at least be like, well, George Kittle just kind of had a out of left field performance rather than the standard, which has been Zach Moss delivering all year long.
Right, and I remember a couple weeks ago I was listening to the show, and you were talking about your team. I don't remember exactly what it was, but you had said you had messed up, right? And you started the wrong guy. You had made the wrong decision between two guys. And I remember looking at it, and it was like the guy that you hadn't started would have made no sense to start versus the other guy if we didn't have the context of that week, right? So to me, even though someone scores 4 times more points, if this guy makes more sense, it was still the right decision, and I can sleep at night, right? Because, again, it's just a preparation question, right? Did I pick the guy who was more likely to blow up? Did he? I don't know, but if this guy's got a 90% and this guy's got a 10% chance of blowing up, the 90% guy I'm going to play, and I'll be okay with it whether he does or doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah. Let's talk about the Josh Allen trade. First of all, I want to, you talked about, right, making decisions, and, Phoenix Fife all year has been picking the wrong quarterback every week. He picks Tua to start, and then Josh Allen goes off. Then he picks Josh Allen to start, Tua goes off. I told him on the show earlier, never ever go to Vegas, dude. Like you have the worst luck of anyone I can imagine.
Yeah.
And finally, he got frustrated. Said, "I'm just going to get rid of Josh Allen." First of all, did you have anything to respond with that? Just about that?
That's one of those situations where when you got 2 great guys to start, it's just playing the matchups and hoping for the best. And I've done that, and I'm doing that now with Richardson and Purdy, and I just got to tell myself, don't get mad at yourself if the other guy goes off because you couldn't have known.
Yeah. So the trade happened. So finally, Phoenix was like, I can't stomach having this back and forth. He traded away Josh Allen, Tyler Boyd, and Tyler Lockett, and in return, he's getting Amari Cooper, the Browns receiver, Hunter Henry, the Patriots tight end, and Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback. So he's got a new backup quarterback, Daniel Jones. I presume he'll start Tua every week. We think Daniel Jones is actually a fairly he's had a rough year, but he can run, he can make some stuff happen when he's playing well. Who do you think won this trade? Because he got rid of Tyler Boyd, the Bengals have been bad all year, but I can't imagine it's going to stay where they're averaging like 3 points a game and barely doing anything. I don't know if you've pulled it up and can see it in front of you, but this trade, again, Amari Cooper, Hunter Henry, Daniel Jones is what Phoenix got. He got rid of Josh Allen, Tyler Lockett, and Tyler Boyd. I don't know that that's a great trade. What do you think of this trade?
I was in the same boat. I'll say this. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it was in DMs. But I had actually talked to, I believe, Phoenix. I don't know the right way to pronounce it. Phoenix, thank you.
I think we all did. We all wanted Josh Allen. We're like, how can we make this happen?
Well, and so I was DMing him, and I had asked him, like, hey, are you looking for 2 quarterbacks, right? Do you want another quarterback back, or are you just looking to stick with your guy, right? And he had told me he was just looking for 1 quarterback. So I'll be honest with you. I almost wonder if the Josh Allen thing, or not Josh Allen, Daniel Jones thing, because this is something I've done in the past, was just to make it a 3-person trade, because that way no one has to drop anything, right? Because if it's an even trade, right, 2 for 3, someone has to drop something, and that always sucks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Phoenix drop Daniel Jones very soon, because I don't even know that he wants 2 quarterbacks at the moment. But
he needs a running back, frankly. Here's the thing about this trade. He's not doing great. He's 0-4. He's like the worst scoring person. I don't think it would have been crazy to not make some kind of change and try to get some value for one of your quarterbacks, because he had 2 and you don't need 2. So I don't want to attack Phoenix, right? He's doing the best he can. Right. I understand the move. I just don't know. Kind of time will tell. I feel like he could have done better maybe. Got a running back, which he really needed, and he didn't here, which is bizarre. He froze. So we shall wait. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe not. Oh, we lost him. Oh, we lost poor buddy. Well, if he doesn't come back, it was a good 30 minutes talking to my buddy Jake. I love you, Jake. I think he can come back. He'll probably DM me in just a second. But either way, I thought that was a great conversation and quite fun. And, we'll see. Well, I guess time will tell. I'm going to wait 5 minutes. And if Jake doesn't come back, then, hey, he's in Colorado. Laptop died. No problem. So Jake's laptop died. And we were kind of wrapping up. I don't have much more to say with him, but we'll just kind of hang out. I got to make a phone call. Let's call Audrey. Audrey called me middle of the show. Oh my, dude, you're back so much faster than I thought you were going to be back. That was incredible.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, my whole PC setup, I don't have a webcam, so I'm using my laptop. I didn't realize it was almost dead, so.
Dude, you're totally, no worries, literally at all. I'm happy. I'm just glad I thought, restarting his laptop, that'll take like 20 minutes. We're going to wait and we'll see. We were saying about the trade, what do you make of this and his team? Because got a tight end, he really needed a running back. What do you make of Phoenix's team?
The trade itself concerns me, mostly because the way I see it, he's not getting Daniel Jones, because I think he's going to get rid of him very soon. And even if he is, Daniel Jones to me is equal to 0 at the moment, especially as a Giants fan, because he's just not doing anything. No. And so I see he got Hunter Henry and Amari Cooper, really, for Josh Allen, Tyler Boyd, and Tyler Lockett, which feels like a lot to me. Amari Cooper, I'm looking at him right now, has gotten 6, 16, 24, and 2. And Hunter Henry has 16, 17, 3, and 9. And I think the 3 and 9 are a lot more usual, is to be expected, to be honest. And so the trade to me was a little odd, but in a league like this, trades are really hard to get through because everyone needs everything, so no one wants to give anything up. So if he wasn't going to play Josh Allen anyway, I think, you know what, go for it, right? I think Amari Cooper is better than both Boyd and Lockett, and I think Hunter Henry's a better tight end than he has now. So I think he improved 2 positions. I don't think he improved them as much as he could have, but I think I see it as an overall positive. If you're not going to play Josh Allen, get 2 guys that you can play and hopefully rely on. So I think it went out. I think he got out of it pretty good. I definitely think I forget his name, but Heshmi. I think he got out a little bit better, but I do still really like the move he made just for the sake of making the move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's got Cooper Kupp on his bench. I wonder if he could potentially trade Cooper Kupp. He needs a running back. I mean, and Cooper Kupp, maybe he's waiting and dragging his feet, hoping he comes back soon. But Cooper's on the IR right now, and by the time Cooper Kupp comes back and can make an impact for Phoenix is 0-4, it's going to be too late. He needs to probably move him to go get something going on. So Phoenix, my recommendation as a guy new to fantasy football, I would trade Cooper Kupp for any running back you can possibly get because you just can't wait too long to get points. Yeah.
I kind of agree with that in a sense. I think Cooper Kupp's hard just because he's so good, but losing him is also so painful because he's so good. But you can get a lot of value out of him, and when you need a running back, I mean, it might be the way to go. Especially because, again, like you said, you don't know when he's going to be back, and he needs to start winning, otherwise he doesn't make the playoffs. Now, I will say, though, if I remember right, Cooper Kupp is supposed to come back fairly soon. It's not like we're expecting like week 10, 11, 12. If I remember right, it was closer to like 6 or 8-ish, if I remember.
Yeah, he's full speed at practice now, too. Like Sean McVay, the Rams coach, said today. Like, he's listed as limited in practice. He's not. He's going full speed, doing everything. So he's going to come back fairly soon.
So the way I see that, right, is if he does come back and he is 100%, then he's got a guy who's going to be one of, if not the best receiver in the league. And he needs that, right? Because if he's 0-4 right now, he has to win almost every game to make it in the playoffs. That's all that really matters, right? Who cares if you have a bad record as long as you're in the playoffs? So, because then it's just a matter of winning from there. That's why I've always looked at it, right? You don't need to win every game. You just need to win enough. But for him, he's at a point where he has to win every game. So building the best roster possible might be the way to go. And, I mean, if he keeps Cooper Kupp, right, he's got value to trade away. He could then have Cooper Kupp and Amari Cooper at receiver, which are 2 really good receivers, and then get rid of guys like Samuel, Hopkins, and whoever else, Jackson and Jigba, and get second-tier running backs, which could then kind of fill out that issue for him.
I would try to trade him. I might try to trade him Kareem Hunt for Cooper Kupp. I might I got to try to find another person to throw in there, but if I feel like after this comes out, people are going to listen to this show and be like, "Oh, Cooper Kupp might be on the trade block." Like I know he hasn't said that. But if I'm in our league, I would be making moves to try to get Cooper Kupp, give Phoenix a running back he desperately needs. Just, I don't know. We'll see if that happens throughout the league. But if a random trade for Cooper Kupp happens, I think I get started with me. I want credit.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yeah, please.
So, personally, I'd hold on to Hunt a little bit longer, right? Because every time we've seen him on his own with the Browns, he's kicked ass. Sorry, my bad.
You can say it. No. You can say it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, he's kicked ass, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen him get fully back into the system yet, and on his own. But I think we can all agree he's much better than every other running back on that roster. And they like their bell cows, right? So I think Kareem Hunt could be like a bell cow running back on a team with a really good roster. Like you were saying a few weeks ago, possibly the best in the league, just like player-wise, right? So personally, trading away Hunt now, you may be losing value, right? You may still want to trade him, but do it after he's had a week or two of being that guy, and you're going to get a lot more value out of him, even if you do still trade him, right?
Yeah, I'm just
now you're
disappointed.
selling low.
Yeah, when Jahmyr Gibbs has been a total disappointment for me. I'm just like, man, I don't know. We should end it here. We've been going for like 40 minutes. Do you have anything else you want to say? Any final thoughts?
No. I think it's a great show. Thanks for having me on. It was enjoyable seeing you cry as I beat you, and it will hopefully happen again in the playoffs.
I hope not. I don't want to play you again. Too scarred. Hey, I love you, man. Seriously, on a personal level, I'm rooting for you, and your story is compelling, and I just want you to do well
man.
in life. And good on you for like getting your stuff together and doing the hard work of moving ahead in life. And I'm so excited for you. I'm rooting for you. Seems like a great dude. And I, as someone who I was homeless in high school, I understand the journey of your parents going through tough financial stuff. And so, man, I love you, man. I'm rooting for you. And thanks for coming on.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I love you. Love the show. Thanks. Have a good one, man.
Yeah. Talk soon. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I am recording this before the interview, so I have no idea what happened. Maybe Jake hacked me and killed me through my laptop. Maybe Jake said some really out-of-pocket stuff. We had to cut it. Maybe we had technical difficulties. I have no idea what just happened in the interview with Jake, but that's all I have for today. I love you. Hope you have a great day, and bam, take care.